we've spoken a little bit before, but where are you located?
Yeah, I'm near Cleveland, Ohio. It's a little place called Sugar and Falls.
Okay, okay. I've never been to Ohio, but I have some of my favorite music artists are from there, so I kind of feel like I know it, but I don't. Maybe I'll go visit one day.
You should. The weather's usually pretty good in June and July. That's about
Okay,
it.
okay. All right, I got to schedule it around that time then.
Yeah.
So for those of you that don't know, Melinda Arnost is the author of Empowering Inclusion, the tool teachers need to help all students succeed. And her book is available today on Amazon and Kindle, and I will provide a link below in the comments. So with that, I think we should get started. So tell us a little bit about you and what kind of made you decide to write this book.
Yeah, so I grew up in Ohio. And growing up, I've always felt like I was more drawn to maybe the oppressed or some different students or different kids in the hallway. I was always one to just like try to make sure everyone got along, like the peacemaker.
Mhm.
Um, and then as I grew up, I went into the special education field. And so I got a job as a special education teacher. And I remember starting off feeling like unsure of what my role actually was. I remember just going into classrooms and pulling students out and working with them one-on-one. And a
Mhm.
lot of it had to do with social emotional issues like impulse control or just expressing your feelings in a different way or things like that. And I remember pulling them out of the classroom, talking to them one-on-one, teaching them these tools and thinking like, why am I not doing this with the whole class, right? Like that's not really
Right.
inclusive if I'm pulling these students out, giving them these tools, and how would they generalize this with everybody else if they know the language but nobody else knows?
Right.
Um,
Yeah.
and I remember, like, when you're young and you just start off and you're just trying to play by the rules, and I had to work with a lot of different teachers and just kind of unsure how to navigate the whole thing. And then every year I kind of got a little more confident and build those relationships. And then I was able to really embrace the inclusion model in every classroom I was working in. So I'm getting that more whole group setting instead of the pulling out setting, doing more whole group based activities. And then it was great because it just so happened to come out when social emotional learning was kind of like the talk of education.
Right.
So
Yeah. It's really become quite big recently.
yes, huge.
So yeah, really, really good timing.
Yeah, so I had all these lessons, but then so when COVID happened, I just decided
Oh
to
yeah.
kind of hunker down and put them all into a book because I was like, it was
Yeah.
an easy write and I feel like I could make probably 10 others right now.
Just so
Um,
much information. Yeah. I
yeah,
mean, it was great. It was great.
thanks.
I Our mission at Pick Science is really to promote independence and self-direction. And yesterday I was speaking with another author, and she was telling me about how important independence is when it comes to students retaining information.
Mhm.
So, how can educators be more inclusive while still promoting an independence?
Ooh, yeah, that's a good question. I feel like because independence, it's almost like so with inclusion, you're making every student feel important, feel comfortable, right?
Right.
Feel safe in their environment. And so when you individualize things or you make students more independent based off their strengths, I think like I
Right.
know when you were like in school or when I was in school, I remember always hating like certain assignments that weren't my strengths, right? Like I wasn't a big,
Yes.
math fan. But when they made it more fun or they made it a little more creative or they were allowing me to do some art, right, it
Mm-hmm.
became more of an enjoyable experience. So I feel like
Right.
giving students those choices and gathering their interest really help with that independence because they feel more confident, they feel more comfortable, they feel more safe
Right.
when it comes to that. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And in your book, you talk about your involvement in school groups and activities as a child and your desire to make others feel included. And I was really impressed by your excitement about going to summer camp for people with
Yeah.
different abilities. And so, can you talk about why you enjoyed the summer camp so much?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, when I started, I was so young. I think I was like 13, and I really did it for community service hours. It was one of the things
Hmm.
on the list that the guidance counselor gave me. And I remember my first day. And again, this is what I'm trying to help with now. But when I was younger, I wasn't around anybody with Down syndrome or anybody that looked different. Or so going
Hmm.
to this camp, I was nervous at first, and then after I got to really know the students, even after day one,
Hmm.
I just had this like passion and love for everybody there because everybody was so non-judgmental. They had a
Right.
blast. They appreciated the small stuff. Like, and again, when you're 13 and you're going through middle school, and like, I remember wanting that one Aeropostale shirt or whatever I was like focused on at the time, you know. And then you really see what life is truly about and like how awesome everybody was there. I just fell in love with it. And so I went
Yeah.
year after year, and I still love to like donate or volunteer my time now, even with the camp,
Hmm.
because it had that much of an impact on me. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. I remember I didn't like summer camp. I felt so almost like trapped because I felt like I couldn't go where I wanted to go. It was just not as fun as the traditional summer camp you would think of. And
Yeah.
but I feel like it depends on how you look at it, right? Your mindset going in and how you make the most of it. So I think that's very interesting.
Yeah, and it was like the small stuff, right? Like a pizza party, or we'd have a blue popsicle day, and it was like the enjoyment to them, you know, for something so small, but it was so exciting in their world. Like it just, I was just like, what am I worried about? You know, I would go home and be
Yeah,
like, I would rather hang out with them all day than my so-called friends, you know, in middle school. It was like
right.
something that kind of set it off. Yeah, and I think going as a counselor instead of a camper is a little bit different too.
Yes.
You know, I was like more of the
Yes.
volunteer, the helper instead of the camper.
Yes.
So
Sure.
yeah,
And then I know talk about Annie in your book. Can you tell
yes,
us about her and what have you learned from your relationship with her?
sure. Yeah, she's. I mean, I just saw her a couple days ago, so yeah, we definitely still stay in
Ah.
touch. Yeah, but when I was student, no, I was my first job out of college was I took a long-term maternity leave, and she was
Hmm.
one of the students in the classroom that I took over. And so her registered behavior therapist at the time ended up quitting, and the mom wrote a note in the communication binder and said, you know, we really need somebody to work with her. And I didn't have my licensure then either, and I was like, I'll do it. Like I love her. Like I would love to come over and hang out. And so ever since then, we just our relationship formed, and I just became more of a best friend than a worker. Like we kind of switched
Wow.
the whole relationship model. Yeah. And then I got another job elsewhere, and we still stayed in contact. And I would come over 2, 3 times a week. And Annie was interesting because she has Rett syndrome, so she is nonverbal. But
Mhm.
when I would do movements with her, like I would go walking with her, and I would take her to the zoo, and I always tried to get her outside of her home so other people would get to know her and meet her too, because she
Mhm.
changed my life. So it was like, you know, other people need to meet this amazing girl. She's awesome.
Right.
So I would take her out in the community, and a lot of people would like ask her a question. And when she quite couldn't answer on time, or if her talker, she's got a communication device, if that wasn't working, you know, I would hand them a card. And it was just a good way to meet people and embrace that, you know, just because she may appear different or act different, she, you
Hmm.
know, still
The
deserves to
same
feel
as
included.
us. Yes,
Right.
for sure.
So
For
it
sure.
was really neat to start there. And then, so when I found out when we were moving together, she would start talking a little bit more, like the movement would excite
Oh.
her and she would say some words. So that's when I'm a big runner. And so I talked
Uh-huh.
to her mom and I was like, what if we like raise money and got her like a running so I could go running with her? Because the movement really seemed to help. So we raised some
Wow.
money and got like a Hoyot running stroller, and we kind of hit it off like I probably went a little too extreme, but we signed up for a marathon instead of like a 5K, like typical people should probably do. So we just like jumped into the marathon route and loved it like the whole way.
Well,
Like we, you know, snacked on
that's
bananas, got
amazing.
to meet people. Yeah, it was so fun. So we still,
Yeah.
COVID kind of set us back a little, but we're still
Mm.
planning on doing more races and more things in the community for sure. So yeah,
Yeah. Well, that sounds amazing. So inspiring and
thanks.
motivating.
It's fun. It's just fun for people to see too, you know, like she has an opportunity to be out with the community and that therapeutic movement's so good for her too. And
Yes.
it's, you know, it's good bonding time between us. So we listen to
Yes.
her favorite Disney songs and just kind of rock out.
Oh, what are her favorite Disney songs? I'm a
Oh,
very big Disney fan.
oh my gosh. So she's loves Frozen 1 and 2.
Oh,
And then
yes.
The Little Mermaid is another, and
Oh,
Dory are her faves. So yeah.
yes. Oh my goodness. I think there's going to be a remake of The Little Mermaid coming out soon. So
Oh, really?
hopefully,
Oh,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
so
I think
exciting.
there'll be new songs, but also probably like better versions of the older ones too.
Yes. Oh, good. Good.
Yes. Well, Melinda, this has been extremely insightful, speaking with
Yay.
you today, learning so much about your book and who you are and your connections. It's just been amazing. And so I want to close this off, but I do want to have one last question. What do you think is the biggest takeaway that you would give educators from your book?
Ooh. I really think it's just don't fear the label. Like, see the able, don't fear the label. And then so I hope when
Oh,
you're done, you're just like, I can really work with anybody in any type of setting, you know? It's just really, I hope
yeah,
when they're done, they're like, wow, like everybody should feel included. What am I stressed about? What am I worried about? Like, I can create this. This isn't, you know, I think sometimes when people see the word inclusion, they may have a different definition than like
hmm,
you or I may come up with. You know, every inclusion model is different and it's your own. And, you know,
that's
you should
true.
just, whoever is in your class, treat them with kindness and respect and belonging, and it'll go smoothly, you know.
Hmm.
So hopefully
Wow.
that's the big takeaway.
Well, that's a great takeaway. That's how I
Yeah.
felt, even though I'm not an educator, but I feel like
No, you're
I
so
got
good.
so much from it. Yeah.
That's awesome. And don't you think some of the lessons in the book are designed for like adults too? Like I think
Yes,
sometimes
of
adults
course.
need it more than the students.
Yes, just in everyday life, I think is
Yes,
so important. So
very
important.
true. Yes.
Well, thank you so much. That's it from us.
Awesome. Thank
I
you for
hope you
having
have a
me.
great day, a great weekend.
Yes, it was nice officially meeting you.
Yes, nice to meet you too. I know we've been chatting back and forth, but it's
Yeah,
great to put a face to the name.
indeed.
Yes. All
Thank
right.
you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.